Today's webinar is all about SERC. Learn how the Special Education Resolution Center, otherwise known as SERC, can help your school district to resolve conflicts. Joining us in a few moments will be Joanne Blades, who is Program Manager for the Special Education Resolution Center. Our objectives for this webinar are that you will describe the purpose and role of SERC and the programs that are provided, and you'll also know how to access those programs. Joining us now is Program Manager Joanne Blades. So welcome, Joanne.
Good morning to everyone.
So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started, and then I know you're going to take us to the SERC website after that, but just tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you.
Okay, I began my career as a teacher. I taught in public and private school for about 15 years, and I was in private practice as an attorney over educational issues for about 10 years. Then about 14 years ago, I began managing the Special Education Resolution Center. We're part of Oklahoma State University, and our center was created with a contract with the State Department of Education to help people in special ed resolve disputes. We are part of the Wellness Center. We're a sister program to Able Tech, but we have a remote location in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we serve all families and school districts in the state of Oklahoma.
All right. Thank you for that introduction. Now I can stop sharing my screen, and then we will, I believe you'll have your website pulled up, and you can just talk us through and walk us through that.
I'm going to take you on a little tour of our website to help explain the kind of programs and help that we give parents, families, and school districts. So we created a little motto that we are here to help resolve complaints at the earliest stage possible. Because what we find is the complaints in special ed are not as much about real legal issues as they are about people's struggle to talk about it. And so we have programs that help you get through there. And when you want to come to our website to find information on what we do, a good place to start is at this right-hand side. Over here is the name of our program, and then we show the services we provide. And generally, they're upfront, low-string services to try to get people to help talk about disputes so they don't become fester and really prevent the school district from dealing appropriately with the child. Our most popular requested program is IEP Facilitation. You click on that, it takes you to a page. Now there's no forms here because this is a procedure that we ask for you to call and talk to me about why you believe that you need this, and to make sure that we're not sending someone in just because someone's afraid, but that the level of conflict has really risen to a level where the parties are not talking. And this, in the beginning, was not our most popular because when you go into the IEP meeting, some school districts were a little bit hesitant that someone else would be in there. But they have come to really love it because during an IEP meeting, that facilitator is not an advocate. They sit in there, and what they do is help the conversation. So if there starts some spewing or someone gets angry, they know how to build a little bit of safety for the parties to be able to continue talking. So if there's no charge to a school district or a parent for an IEP facilitation, and a facilitator who is highly trained in communication skills comes to the meeting and just helps people discuss the issue and make sure that the component parts of the problem are being discussed, because that's what happens. A lot of times when a parent will ask for something, school people don't often know how to respond, and they feel uncomfortable, so they just really don't answer. They may slide around and go to some other topic to begin talking about. And so that facilitator is there to help the parents and to help the school district. And we've got lots of rave reviews that we were able to focus the discussion on the child and really get through the IEP to focus on the child's needs. And that's been very important. You just access the IEP Facilitation Program by contacting us. And I do intakes to talk about what the problems are, to give advice. Maybe you're not ready for an IEP facilitation, but you need to try a few things. We're happy to speak with you about that. We try to work with you, and we don't mind any call. No call is too stupid. We want to help people because we know how frustrating it is. Our second program is mediation. Mediation is a little bit more formal than an IEP facilitation. It's where there is a special session outside. It's not an IEP meeting. And the parties come together to define and to discuss specific issues. If a school district wants to engage in mediation, they come on the forms to request for mediation. The school would just click on the school agreement to mediate. And that would be a form that they would fill out and fax or scan and email to us somehow, get it back to our center. And we contact the parties. If the school doesn't feel comfortable contacting the parent, we can do that. Sometimes the school will give this information to parents in an IEP meeting and ask them once conflict erupts and they're not able to speak continuously about an issue, they may ask, would you be willing to go to mediation? And sometimes they will access the parent form and the parent agreement to mediate and just give it to the parent right there in the meeting. But if the school doesn't feel comfortable contacting the parent, like they're afraid the parent's really angry with them, we don't have a problem doing that. We can explain to either party what the benefits of mediation are, what mediation is and what mediation is not. When you have time, come back to our website and visit some of the frequently asked questions to learn more about questions about mediation. The next program that we offer is due process hearings. And most people try to avoid due process hearings simply because they take a real emotional toll on the parties. But sometimes the parties feel that there are legal rights that have been violated. Maybe the school feels that there are reasons that a school can ask for a due process. If they feel that a child's behavior is so serious that the behavior could not continue in the classroom, they can ask a hearing officer in an emergency hearing to remove a child for up to 40 days. And the hearing officer would make a determination of whether that child could be removed or not. We don't frequently see schools filing due process hearings. Not really sure why that is, but they are able to file them. They also have parent files for due process, and someone asked me one time, can a parent just get online, download a form, and file a due process hearing? And I'm like, pretty much, that's how it works. So the checklist is there to help parents know what steps to take during the hearing. There's also a LEA, that means Local Educational Agency checklist. That helps them to know what goes on. And we're always happy for people to call and ask us information about what our procedures are. We don't give legal advice about hearings, but we can help you to understand the process. It's usually a process that people are not familiar with, and we really think the process moves forward better when people do understand what they're doing. So we have regular due processes. We have also what's called an expedited due process. And that is related to either a school's request to remove a student, or it could become a parent request that deals with discipline and whether or not the issue that the child was suspended for was related to the child's disability. And if they're contesting whether or not it was a manifestation or directly related to the disability, then they can file an expedited due process complaint, which has to occur within a shorter time period to see if the child should have been suspended or removed from the educational setting. We have some other things along here that you can look at. You can click in on hearing decisions. We post hearing decisions each year at the end of the fiscal year. If any school district or parent or anyone wants to read and find out what's been going on, we have frequently asked questions that you can look at that help you understand some things about hearings, and then also what to expect during the first 30 days. Because in a due process hearing, when a parent files, there's actually a 30-day resolution time period. And in that 30-day resolution time period, it's a time for the parties to try and discuss what the issues are and see if they can settle it. Now, there is a mandatory resolution session that occurs, and our school district will, our program will provide to the school district and the parents a facilitated resolution session, which means we send a facilitator and we try to resolve the conflict. If it can't be resolved at the end of 30 days, it springs to life as a hearing, and a 45-day hearing process begins. Some other programs that we do manage mediation, due process, and IEP facilitation, but we engage in what's called stakeholder training. And if teachers, if they click on stakeholder training, can access anytime the trainings that we have. There's one, good meeting management, which is just an overview of how to conduct good IEP meetings. There's another one, building partnerships, creating agreement, collaborative problem solving, and early intervention and special education. That's a national training that's done to help people understand how to handle the positional demands of schools or parents, and where they begin to discuss things where it's not really focused on the child. So it's a helpful training to go through. We can also come out and do that training in a school district at no cost to the trainer. It's no cost to the school district, sorry. The second part are our modules, and we spent quite a bit of time and effort developing these modules. They are really the best essential skills for engaging in conflict, and they are directly related to special education. And the way you look at them is you scroll down to the series, and there's 6 modules. So if you look at module 1, there is watch a video to module 1. There's a short video that Greg Abel, the author of these modules, summarizes what the module is about. And then you can click on actually module 1 and look at it. It's developed so that teachers can read it, understand it, and think about it, and how it's paradigm shifting to the way they may have seen conflict in the past, and maybe how they'll engage with it differently in the future. So it goes on to starting with self-preparation, because anytime you have a meeting, you yourself needs to be prepared as you go into that meeting, prepared to have a meaningful discussion about the child, preparing yourself. Module 3 is about listening for understanding. And listening is really a skill that people need to engage in to try to hear the other person's concern. It's not just about hearing with the ears, but it's understanding with the mind and the heart where that person's coming from, to try to understand where maybe they don't understand. Also in module 4, it's how to share your perspective with the other party so that you can have a good dialogue about the interests of the parents' issues, along with the interest that the school has in educating that child. Then also module 5, exploring issues to understand interests. It takes a little bit more the parties into understanding the interest of the child. And that's where we try to focus what we're doing on. Not just what a parent wants or what the school wants, but what is going to be in the interest of the child and help that child be better educated within the confines of the law. And then in module 6, we have solutions for mutual purpose, which is a little bit about engaging with parents and school districts and helping them to find ways that they can both meet their needs for this child. So that covers stakeholder training. We will come out, we have a number of trainings that we do frequently in school districts. One of them that is a big popular training we do, it lasts about an hour and a half to 2 hours, is on difficult emotions, handling difficult emotions, handling yourself, and getting through difficult meetings. It's very popular training. Okay, if you follow on down the right-hand column of lists, you will come down to the SERC Scoop newsletters. I'm going to click on there and pull up the current newsletter. This goes out through the State Department of Education to every school district, and it has sections where we try to keep people informed on the newest thing that's coming up legally or with dispute resolution. So in this last edition in August, we always give an introduction to what SERC is in case someone's reading this that's never had interaction with our agency before. And the articles we focused on this August were giving parents a reason to trust you, how to conduct yourself in a way that parents will learn that trust is an important component of your relationship with them. Then we've given an IEP challenge where we're focusing a little bit about goals, because the measurability and the quality of the goal may be looked at in a due process hearing. We look at restorative practice and special education dispute resolution and how that's evolving as a new issue, something to think about from the school's perspective. Also help in facilitating discussion of students' needs in light of the Indru decision. This was a very important handout because what we're finding is the Supreme Court made a big change in special ed definition of faith, and we're not yet seeing that in discussions at school districts. So this is a form that's given out to parents as well as teachers to help them and make sure they are engaging in what the requirements of the Indru decision for establishing if the student was getting FAPE or not. So it helps the parties work through that. There will be a section of upcoming events and special topics. You'll also see there the registration for Able Tech Support Team Training. So every 3 months, once a quarter, we send out these latest articles and things to help build the capacity of school districts and parents in handling conflict. So if you've missed any of our newsletters, you'll see that they're archived, and you can go back and access some of our archived newsletters. I think that pretty well summarizes the things that we're doing, Kim.
Okay, well, I have some questions for you since we do have a little bit more time. But if you'll go ahead and stop sharing, I'll put your slide back up that has your contact information. And that way, if anyone wants to contact you, they'll have that. So here we go. All right, so this is Joanne's information. So a couple of the questions I wanted to just follow up with you about. Definitely, I'm sure that you help people who are in special education, students, who are on IEPs. Do you ever assist with students who are on a 504 accommodations plan?
Sometimes we do. The issue that the child is having has to touch special education. So it's one of the issues with special education is, do they qualify for an IEP? So if the issue is the child is on a 504, but the parent feels that the 504 is not an appropriate accommodation and the issue relates to identification of child find under the IDEA, we would be helping with those issues. Other issues like what's encompassed in a 504 plan or what happens in a 504 plan, we don't help with those issues. The 504 is actually something under the U.S. Department of Ed. So the only way we relate to 504 is if it specifically touches on special education issues in some way.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever get calls from people who have taken their kids out of school and they're homeschooling?
Absolutely. We will help any family who has a child who qualifies for special ed or who believes is qualified for special ed, but the school has not appropriately addressed evaluation. So it doesn't matter whether the child is actually enrolled in a public school. If they've been pulled out to a charter school or a private school, we will help them. We also help we don't help families over private school issues while they're in private school, but we would help them with IDEA issues relating back to either their charter school or their homeschool, their home public school.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I know I've heard you talk about different trainings you've attended, different conferences, but I wondered if you could tell our viewers, about some of the training that your staff receives and how you learn these great resources that you have.
Well, we go to national trainings where we work collaboratively with national programs. So on our dispute resolution program, we work collaboratively with the CADRE, which is the National Consortium of Appropriate Dispute Resolution. They are the premier organization. They have a contract with the U.S. Department of Ed Special Services to assist states with alternative dispute resolution. We have been found to be one of their exemplar programs because we're using all the upstate and upfront early processes to try to help families and schools. We also have someone come in like Art Sinoja, who's a national expert on special ed law. He comes in and does training with our hearing officers on updates of the special ed law and then trains them on hearing officer issues. We go to national conferences like the LRP convention. I would encourage anyone to attend that conference. It occurs yearly. I think.
What is LRP?
LRP. You would just go to lrp.com or lrpconferences.com. I think the next one is going to be around the 1st of May. It's going to be in Florida. And it's probably the most extensive training session on legal issues of educating children with disabilities. A lot of directors in Oklahoma go. I think we had 40 directors last year that attended in Dallas.
What does LRP stand for?
It's some kind of publications. I really don't know.
Okay, never mind.
It's just LRP.
Something to do with legal, probably.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you kind of stole my next question because I was going to ask, how does Oklahoma rank in the number of due process filings? But you kind of touched on that a little bit. But do we have a lot or a little?
When we first started about 14 years ago, we had anywhere from 35 to 50 due process hearings a year. And our goal was try to reach those issues at an early stage because we really believe that keeping families and schools talking and not being angry at each other and focusing on the needs of children, that those children are better served through that IEP. So we implemented a lot of our upstream processes like IEP facilitation, and we gradually saw a reduction in due process hearings. So we're down to about this year, we had actually 1 carryover decision and only 11 new due process hearings. Now, I'm the first one to think if anyone needs a due process hearing to settle a legal issue, we certainly, want to provide a good system for that. But most of the issues we see are really over hurt feelings or feelings of disrespect by parents and school districts. So we want to try to avoid the high cost of emotional hurt feelings and litigation for school districts as well as families. And so we've been able to reduce our numbers. That's not to say that there are no problems in special ed. We probably field a good 400 calls a quarter. And from the State Department, we get referrals also from the Oklahoma Parent Center. And we try to not focus on legal issues as much as we are on trying to get services for that child and resolve the problems so education can continue on.
Okay, and you got my interest here. So I know of you and one other person who work in your Tulsa office. That's a really small staff for handling that many calls. How are you covering the whole state and providing all of these services?
Well, in our office, we handle calls. I do what's called intake. We handle calls. We send out forms to parents. We do a lot of the calls we get. We do early intervention with the districts, and sometimes I will call, or explain to parents. Sometimes there's confusion over why there's a problem. We try to handle it and get it resolved without a process. But we have a list of people that we have that are highly trained neutrals who are highly trained in communication skills. And we just assign them when we've not been able to informally resolve a complaint. We take paperwork and we set up an IEP facilitation or a mediation, and we assign someone to go to the local district and work with the IEP team or with the school district and their staff to try and resolve with the parents these problems. We also have hearing officers. We don't actually do the work in our office. We send people to school districts all over the state.
Okay, well, that is a good explanation. And then Angela is asking, she says, a lot of information was shared today. If a parent has a concern, can you summarize what are the best places to begin?
I think the best place to begin is just to give me a call, and I can help them sort through. Sometimes the concern they think they have is not what the concern really is. They don't always know how to articulate in a way that a school can hear. And so we encourage people just to call us. We have information we can send to people and read, but we just find the best way is reaching out and talking to people personally. And I'm always happy to talk to a school person to help them get ideas about where they can go with this, what they can do for themselves, what have they tried, what haven't they tried, and then I'll send them in the right direction.
Very good. Thank you so much for that explanation, and again for joining us. So again, if anyone has questions for Joanne, wants to contact Joanne, it's the Special Education Resolution Center. They're located in Tulsa. The local phone number is 918-270-1849, or you can call their 800 number. That's 888-267-0028. The fax number is there on the screen. And to get to their website, to see the things that Joanne covered today, that is serc.okstate.edu. If you need documentation of your participation today, just contact me. My email is kimberly.berry@okstate.edu. You can call me on my direct line, 405-744-8342 or 800-257-1705. And ask for Kimberly. And always can look at our website, okabletech.org. So that's it. Thanks everybody, and have a great afternoon.